And we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the late night live stream. We are having a peaceful evening, and we are doing our garden walk and looking for the wet lurks, if we will find any critters walking around. We will see. So, today, it's, as I said, similar to yesterday. It's to warm up more and more. And you can hear the crickets and all the other bugs because they're more comfortable coming out now because of the weather being more warm. Right? And see, going this way, there's some fascinations. Yep, there is. It's fascination because we've not gone to this part before. And you can hear them. Like, you could hear them chirping. They're not even chirping. Actually, they're technically not chirping, but they're, cricketing. That's what they're doing. And yeah, so this is different from last night because the bugs are, like the crickets and grasshoppers and all those. Hey, Eugene, welcome to the stream. Nice to see you, buddy. Hope everything's going well with you today, tonight, however people want to view it. And we are viewing the garden live, and this time we have more activity, more sounds because it is warmer. It's warming up. Yeah. So I have been, talking about different things people like to grow and helping different people with their gardens and stuff. And, different zones can grow different things in different parts of the year. Like sometimes all year round, some people can grow things. Like there's parts of the world where it doesn't ever have winter or freeze. The avocado tree, for instance, it doesn't do well when the weather is very, very cold, when it freezes. So everywhere gets cold sometimes. So it was from a very tropical part of the world. Oh my goodness, Eugene. Okay. So sending you thoughts and prayers, buddy. And I am, you are my thoughts and prayers. That is really messed up. And we are here for you to talk to. Also, feel free to talk to us about anything. So thank you for letting me know, Eugene. A lot of times we suffer more in imagination and then instead of reality. So, speaking English, what I really meant to say was we suffer more in imagination than reality. So I believe it'll blow. Everything will eventually work out, and sometimes things don't make sense in the moment. And I believe in the long term, it'll all work out in the long run. So, uh, and when things happen that are not always good, you do have a story to tell, and there is communities on here to talk to. Yes, I definitely hope so too. Sometimes life will hit you in the head with a brick, and it happens to all of us. And there is a puppy around here. That's what I hear. I heard it. I saw it earlier, but and I know there. I just heard it. So yeah, definitely. Never lose faith, and it'll get better over time, I believe. And there's something moving around. Not too sure what it is exactly. All right, and there's all these different insects flying around. Exactly, it's always darkest before the dawn. Yeah, Yeah, and sometimes family can do things that are, you know, and people in general, like, especially when there's the actions of others that will lead to a catastrophe to occur. Especially like in my city, there was with the flood, it was because of other people being stupid and not making sure that the city's levees were safe. And I don't care what lawsuits they won or what was there or was not there. They clearly were not being responsible. So it does suck when you have other people's actions go wrong. Now, we all are imperfect. None of us are perfect people. There's errors that can, occur, and when mistakes happen, lessons can be learned. And the key thing that I think is that the key to is to have resilience of keeping on going. And I I remember you were telling me about the raccoons and the critters that try to go through the ceiling, and it's almost like there's a secret society over there of different critters, and they use your room as a meeting place. Yeah, yeah. Houston hurricane, and then stuff got better. Yeah, that's good. Stuff got better because there's a lot of times things. Did it flood there? Like, did he have a flood happen, or did his house blow over? As I know, there was some a couple of years ago. There was a hurricane that hit Houston, and there was lots of flooding that happened, and it was a catastrophe. I remember uh, there was they wanted to use Joel Osteen's place as a refuge center, but and I don't you see the Hurricane Katrina was used as a refuge center, the Superdome, and it did not go well. So it was flooded and it was bad. Yeah, there was someone I knew from years and years ago that was in Houston during the flood of that hurricane, and it's not good. It was they were like in a flood. So yeah, I kind of have an idea what you're talking about. But yeah, the city didn't give the okay for them to use it as a sanctuary. But with the Katrina thing, I could see where people wouldn't want to use a place like that for something because it could get really bad, dude. Because I wasn't at a Superdome, but the problem was there was no food, water, and it was just complete chaos from what I saw. So yeah, I don't. People should probably just. I could see where you'd have to have better precautions than doing something like that. But although the Houston thing, I don't know if it went that bad, but I think it was handled better because people were like, okay, this really was effed up, you know, really fucked up. So they have to go and say, okay, let's backtrack a little bit and go, you know what? Let's do it different this time because the whole world was burning last time. Yeah. So that's what I think is important for people to see because, learning lessons is important to do. And I'm glad, hopefully, with different hurricanes, they could learn lessons to not be goofy about it. So, yeah, shout out to your uncle, your family, and I, I do think that those critters are probably trying to take over, and they will. You got to watch out for them. It's. I remember, possible that the critters down here, like the banded puppies, are in cahoots with the critters up there because sometimes they'll have like different syndicates. Because I was at a coffee place one time, and there's a whole bunch of cats that were having a meeting outside, and my grandpa said they're having a meeting. I'm like, this really is a meeting. These cats are really thinking of something. Ah, okay, okay, understood. So, okay, natural disaster. You cross that out off the list. Okay, because those Mother Nature can be really ruthless at times, and this situation is the family causing problems with the cart before the horse. Yeah, so that is a good idiom, a good saying. Idiom, means like a saying. Whoa, 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 something, something. Okay, everything's fine. I heard something behind me, and I heard something over me. I don't know where it was coming from, but anyway, I'm cool. So, in yeah, when putting the cart before the horse, you're going to only lead to the cart rolling off the hill, and it's going to break and crash or hurt somebody, and the horse is just going to sit there and get bored. So, yeah, I know what you're talking about, and people, I think, I don't even know what your situation's about completely exactly, but it's like sometimes when people are like in their emotions and they think they're doing the right thing but they're not, and they just keep on like making the situation worse and burning the bridges to the point where there's nowhere to go, and it's like everything's in flames. So yeah, but you definitely are logical and reasonable from talking to you, and they need to adapt your kind of thinking, because of it's the cart is going to roll off the cliff, and it's going to be scared. Yeah. So yeah, it's a lot of times people will, a domino effect happens, and one thing and it collapses all the other dominoes. And Eugene says they are selling the property and only thinking about my brother and what they want. Oh, yeah. Okay, I get it. So there was a time where my family was selling something, one of the houses, and I don't know. It was like I wanted them to have it, but it was okay to get rid of it, and then eventually they got rid of it, and it was all good. But they need to think about you too, besides the brother. And a lot of times people want money or something else out of something, but I'm sure that they will think of you too, in my opinion. I'm sure they're thinking of you as well, but I because you are not an NPC, you are one of the main characters, regardless of what they think or do. And there was something that flashed for a second, but it was just an insect that was like kind of dashed and went away. But yeah, so they just want something, they want out of it, like they want money, and sometimes it would be a good idea to sell something, other times it isn't. Like there's one time they want to sell a place, and it's like it was not a good idea, and then they fixed it so it's not like that. And then there's another time where they didn't, and it was good the time they did it. So yeah, if it's the right thing to do for them to keep it, and hopefully they could go with reason and wisdom and say, look, we are going to not do this because we have to think ahead. Because people in a moment, and I'm not perfect, no one's perfect, but in a moment, someone in a blazing moment might think something's a good idea, especially if they have wanting something or favoring another person. But in the long term, if you look farther ahead, you are not going to, the parties are not going to benefit in the long term. And Eugene says, I was promised a van and enough money to survive for a few months, and now I'm not getting anything. Well, okay, it's like, that's ridiculous, okay? Because you are very cool. Like, this brother of yours I've never heard of. I don't think I've ever met your brother. I don't think I've ever known him on any live stream. But anyway, you are cool people, and I don't really know what their problem is. If they're have Temu Sheen jealousy, or them, it's possible they might be just triggered for some reason, but they're not really going to do what they're saying. I've been told all kinds of crazy things before, but it didn't really come to pass. And shout out to the hood, the hood people over there doing their thing in the distance, and now we'll continue the conversation. So yeah, it sounds more of something said out of anger, but it's like they're going to give you a van and money, and then they're not going to give you anything. And yeah, and they helped him over and over, but I ignore me. I helped my parents. Yeah, that's really messed up, because that type of favoritism makes no sense. You have to take everyone into account, You can't just be favoring like one person over another. And from knowing you, I think you're cool people, and you were, logical and good, cool in chat, and everybody, thinks you're awesome on the spaceship. So I, the Timu Sheen brother, he really needs to understand that karma comes around, and everyone has their day. And you helped your parents, and you're a cool person. And look, no one's perfect. Everyone's makes mistakes, all right? But to be that messed up over something is not right. It's kind of, what it reminds me of? There is the Walk the Line movie, right, about Johnny Cash, and they favored the other brother over him, and I'm kind of picturing that's what they did to you. And like, I remember the dad was like kind of mean to Johnny Cash and telling him like he's like an empty can, and he throws across the room and stuff like that. So yeah, that's a situation that is not nice. So it's good you're helping your parents, and I believe it all will work out. And people might be saying things because they're angry, or they're, in a moment. I said, I've been told some crazy things. I thought the apocalypse was going to happen to me, but here we are. We're still here. So, and another thing is that this is something that is easier said than done, but advice is that living in the present moment helps, and the weapons of reason you have now that arm you against the present will help you whatever comes your way. And whatever was woven in your destiny, whatever happens, you'll overcome it with resilience, and you'll eventually get back to a better position. So either way, you'll win, no matter what happens. But yeah, I think it'll be okay. They might just be angry and being, kind of trying to spook you. And betrayal is just not nice, and people's character, especially like people that are really narcissistic, or narcissism could be good, but for self-confidence and stuff, but people that use it in a bad way, they don't, it's best to stay away from people as best you can that are like manipulative and weird like that. And no company is better than bad company. Like for instance, like we're chilling, and that is messed up. That is extremely messed up. They did that to you, that they took advantage of you like that. Okay. Definitely, I would say somehow, some way, trying to part ways from them at some point would be something that I would want to do personally. Even if I, for some reason wanted to stay for some reason, I would try to think that it's somehow getting away from people that are like that is better, because it seems that there's let's see. Oh, okay. 9-foot bear. Okay, let's go. Let's go this way. All right. We have to be very calm, all right, because of the bear behind me. But make sure that I did that. Now, I hear it behind me. I hear it behind me, okay? But I'm being still and calm. Because if I run too fast, or if I be too still, see that bear right over there, it's going to come at me. Now I'm going to look very, all right? And see, it's going to be scared away. Roar. 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 All right? It's going to be backing up. Now it's back. Now it's walking towards us now, but let's do this again. All right. Now it's going away because it thinks I'm the bigger bear. Okay. But we're going to make sure we're going to be careful. Thanks, Per, for watching my back. Yeah, it might be a 10-foot alien. And Eugene has very good eyes. Very clever too. And we were talking about those aliens earlier. So it might be one of my alien brethren that are trying to come and square up with me right now. But as I said, that bear is just lurking in the shadows, and I'm ready for it if we have to face it. We got our sidekick, Per, and Eugene, and we're going to make sure that, it's not going to attack any of us. So, see, you got to have people you see, Eugene, you got to have people that watch your back. that have you, because there's people out there that don't have your back, right? So there's good people in the world like Per. The random good Samaritans will come around and come when they come to help those in need, just out of nowhere. And I'm hearing more. I'm hearing something else, but I'm watching my back, and so far I don't see anything, but we will see. Because sometimes I will hear something. You see? Look at that. There's something right there. Yep. Yep. It's probably a possum. See? And yep, that was a possum. And he's slithering off. See, I will hear things from all over the place. I'll hear something in front of me that's behind me, but Per knows exactly where it's coming from. I would not be alive if Per was not with me on more of my adventures. And same with Eugene. Both of them with me. I'm able to be here in one piece. Because I'll have the Temu Sheen hearing and sight at times. And I'll even think that this stick right here was out to get me, but it's not even out to get me. But the thing is always behind me. So, yeah. Definitely, Eugene, it would be good to not be around people who are doing things, and I believe they're jealous of you, and they're being unjust. But prayers for you, Eugene, and I believe in time in the future things will get better. Right? It'll get better. And Eugene also says, from earlier, there was a giant UFO. They built a building to cover up the digging up. It looked like a vehicle, not an old structure. Ah, okay. Thank you for clarifying about that UFO story. Because there's a lot of times there'll be all kinds of ancient structures that I have seen. And they will look like pretty much anything you could think of. They could look like an old structure, like an old building, or some rusted out hollow thing. And they could even look like a couple of, rocks. So you're saying what you saw was a vehicle. And with the vehicle, and there's something over there. Definitely was an ancient craft from thousands of years ago that came down here. Because there's that Atlas thing that was traveling through our solar system that was from one of the UFOs. Probably, in my opinion, a UFO that was traveling through our solar system. So, yeah, that's what it sounds like to me. And it crashed there a long time ago. And eventually, over time, it just got older and older, but it was able to still stay intact as a nice, not a nice, but the reason I say it's nice is because it's still a vehicle. The vehicle attributes are still together. And if you have something that isn't a vehicle anymore, it could be disputed what it is. So the fact that it's still looking like a vehicle is good. Now, to you, what did you think about it that to you looked like a vehicle? Did it look like it had an engine? Did it look metallic? Because a lot of the UFOs are metallic, and they have some metal structures to them, and you could kind of tell something. Say you see, in a field like this, you see an old vehicle, and the old vehicle will be rusted out and hollow and messed up, but it's still a vehicle nonetheless, and it's still there. So that is something certainly to take into consideration, is the marvelous thing that the certain parts of something can still look like it could be still operational. Like, you know, an abandoned vehicle, it's all messed up and rust out and hollow, but you could tell it's a vehicle. Then there's something like a rusted building. You know, it's completely different. Ah, okay, Eugene. Okay. So, from Eugene says, from what I can gather, it looks like a starship saucer from Star Trek. Oh, okay. So, from Star Trek, Star Trek, that was a very good show and it's very popular, and it definitely depicts people that are being in outer space with technology we'll have in a couple thousand, like 1,000 or 500 years from now. So definitely there's theories about them being time travelers, people visitors from another planet, and the interdimensional hypothesis of the fallen angel type beings that came from other realms that crash into Earth. So the reason why is because it looks like Starship Saucer. Okay. And the Starship Saucer is a really mind-blowing thing to be captured on camera or film. It really shows the evidence that we were not alone in this universe and were visited by something from another world. And when we are visited by otherworldly terrestrials, it really adds up with alien theories. Because a lot of times people will go and say that, you know, make fun of people and say, oh, the aliens are not real, they're not from space and all that stuff. But now they're talking about it in the government. And you could clearly see that something was, you know, constructed there. And when something is so old, from so long ago, it has to be from somewhere else. Right. And Eugene says what was interesting was it had an escape pod hatches. Ah, okay. Okay. It was an escape pod hatch. And with the escape pod, that is certainly to me like some sort of flying saucer, some sort of extraterrestrial type object that was crashed here thousands of years ago. Did they say how old it may have been in the video? I'd be curious to know if those details were speculated. But yeah, I definitely the escape pod means that they were not invincible and they needed to get out if they needed to, and it's so intriguing. Like, it really could be people from Star Trek, from that time. It could have been them in a time machine coming here and it crashed and it didn't work, or it could be those fallen angels from or interdimensional beings. So definitely that's what was talked about in different books of Enoch and different types of scriptures and ancient texts. Ancient civilizations have talked about this before, that they had flying things in the sky and people that descended down here, and that's basically what they used. And there was some things I was reading on the stream with Mindy that it was so intriguing, extremely intriguing. The thing is that some of these gods had spaceships, types of spaceship things. I will be careful, all right, as I'm getting my distance from this spot, because that may have been out to get me. Thank you, per very much. And yeah, so I think it is absolutely true that it's connected to those fallen entities. And not only the fallen entities, but those mythologies, which I think are actually true history of the past. Because they talked about these flying things or chariots of fire, then you see something from ancient times that looks like a spaceship. So there you go. Now, we were not able to perfect the spaceships the way they did it just yet, but we're eventually getting there. And Eugene says, no, but it was 4 football fields large. Check out Woodward TV when you can. I will check out Woodward TV, and I think the UFO concepts are very incredible. So, yeah, definitely for everybody to be aware of that. And there actually are pretty big snakes around here, technically, and it is warming up, so I should, definitely be watching for what's going on here. And the snakes, sometimes there's little garden snakes that are very small, like peewee snakes, and then there's like kind of bigger ones that are like the size of this brown thing right here. So yeah, it's something to watch out for. And I'm just sitting here going as close to it as I can, like doi doi, I'm looking at the grass, doi. So, and just to get myself eaten for a second. Now there's some snakes that are so big, it's like an anaconda, right? And or a python. Those things are so huge, they could eat a whole person allegedly. I'm saying allegedly because I don't have like the data to show you because I'm not on my computer. But no, there is instances of like a person being eaten by it, and it just looked like a snake will like a mattress snake. And bro had himself a whole man, one whole man inside of him, and they'll use the jaws will grab and pull whatever it is in. They'll eat all kinds of things, and they expand their mouths. It's quite nature can be quite an incredible spectacle to see. For instance, the bumblebee. It's impossible for a bumblebee to be able to do something like that, but it can do it without a shadow of a doubt. And the bumblebee is not supposed to fly, but no one ever told the bumblebee never to fly, though. And Eugene said, "Oh, I saw a red squirrel in the bush beside my room today." Ah, okay. That is the critter that you were seeing. Is that darn red squirrel? Is Sandy Cheeks' cousin himself? So that darn squirrel is the mastermind culprit behind everything that's going wrong, and he really is just completely thinking that he was never going to be caught, but you got to see him today. He thought he had the perfect disguise, but see, you're like the chief inspector. You're able to see things that through the matrix, right? Because there's the red squirrel matrix, and you are able to crack the red squirrel matrix. And in this area is where I would plant all kinds of things in this part, and I haven't done it in a long time, especially as these different trees grew here. The ground is just more for hanging out under a tree because the sun isn't as frequent. But yeah, you have all these little flying things. As I said, like the other day when we were here, there was silent because the bugs were in hibernation, or like real cold somewhere. Like imagine that Jiminy Cricket or the cartoon, and he has like a himself a sweater and a hat on his head because it was cold, and now he could go do his cricket thing. So yeah, and I'm sure there's probably like a mountain lion that's going to come jump at me in a moment. So I am going to make sure I have this little stick right here to ward it off. And Eugene said, "I'm surprised because they usually are in the trees, but it was looking for stuff on the ground." Ah, okay. So usually our squirrel friends are in the trees. It must have had to go get the newspaper, I guess. And if the news like, aha, Eugene is not going to see me today, I got him completely fooled. But it was not true at all. You were right there, and we put it in all over the streams and the videos. All the streamers are talking about it, that finally that darn thing has been caught red-handed, and the legend of Red Squirrel has been solved. It's like the squirrel was plotting. The squirrel was certainly plotting. And I think it's cool that the UFO, the Star Trek type thing that they were showing was the size of a football field, that is very, very, it must have been used for a, big operation. I'm sure when it crashed, it was a big kaboom, and it wasn't too nice. So yeah, definitely very interesting. Reminds me of Transformers in a way, because like when they had Megatron inside the ice of Antarctica, and there's like that kind of like dramatic music in the background. That's what that reminds me of when they're showing that starship. Because certainly, uh, I believe it's based off of real stuff that people experience and people I've seen before. There is something walking around. I don't really know what it is exactly, but there's something around. It's very faint. And so, Eugene, do you see the squirrels often, or is it your first time seeing the squirrel? Out of curiosity. Ah, okay. Eugene said it didn't crash. They landed, but probably the fallen angels. Ah, okay, okay. So the fallen watchers, fallen angels, they were sent here to guide and watch over humanity, but they fell from grace and became Timushin angels. So they wanted to be worshipped as gods and be in charge of everything. But it didn't quite work out that way. So now I know, because I'm thinking of myself something, is that there is a in the 80s, y'all in chat could tell me if you remember seeing it, but there is this rocket ship that went into the sky and it exploded. And some people are saying they saw it on TV and different places, but yeah, it went kaboom, and some teachers died in it. So that's well, I'm thinking to myself, if it crashed, it would not be in one piece like what our friend Eugene is talking about here. Because you go, alien, how in the world is a crashed spaceship going to be intact like that? It's not going to be. So especially something of that magnitude size, unless it was very advanced. So no, it landed there. It was placed there, probably to make a spectacle for people that were watching the television. You know what? Alien said something stupid. So what I meant to say was not a television, because televisions probably didn't really exist yet, but to see like there's people with spears and like banging drums, and they see a spaceship size of a football field chilling there, and they go, oh look, Jojo, there's some metal thing, God, that walked out of a spaceship. And that's what really was going on, technically. Like when I'm talking about, like these cavemen are like watching TV like the Flintstones, So I don't only get a bear nearly tear my head off earlier, but I'm also thinking to myself, hey, you know, people in the past like the Flintstones, but some of them may have been like that, but not completely true. And Eugene says, I had a red squirrel in my room from the hole in the roof before it was fixed, and also gray squirrel too. Oh, gray squirrels. We are on a whole new level of in the Matrix right now, breaking the Matrix. So that is some groundbreaking stuff. Gray squirrels, there's certainly a squirrel syndicate going on. Certainly a squirrel syndicate. And I would be certainly listening to what they have to say, because I know that they're planning something. They talked about a ship in the Amazon rainforest, and let's go here. They talked about a ship in the Amazon rainforest. It might be part of a potential disclosure. Oh, that is so cool, dude. And it's part of the disclosure. So so people that are like coming through is that there's some alien disclosure that's going to happen at some point. And now they're talking about the disclosure that may be coming around. So in this disclosure, there is so many things that I'm not even completely aware of, but I've heard a lot of the theories. So it seems a ship in the Amazon rainforest, that definitely is where a lot of those gods appeared. And they would like to go in those secluded locations. So it makes perfect sense to me that something like that is going on. Wow. That is good to know, and I look forward to that disclosure, and we'll certainly be talking about it. Andrew, bro, it is so good to see you. Welcome back to the spaceship. We are observing more of nature right now and talking about some UFOs and pretty much anything else people want to talk about. Anything else too. It's all good. So yeah, I definitely think that when the disclosure is eventually released, that will be part of it. Yeah, there's definitely a time Latina and I were on the show, and now Latina unfortunately was banned from YouTube for some reason, and her accounts got confiscated. But that's why she hasn't really been on YouTube. But so she's just kind of like retired. But I've been drinking from 10 p.m. and it's now 8 a.m. I feel like death. Oh, Lord, Andrew. You are pretty much, what they call dead man walking. Yeah, you're a trooper for being here and talking to us. But yeah, so anyway, with Latina, we were talking about the Amazon rainforest and different. There is a monkey god in the Amazon, and this monkey god thing was, worshipped by so many people at that time, and it's believed to be a Bigfoot type creature, and similar to the Nephilims. And you have not slept in 36 hours. Well, welcome to my world. That's basically like what I do. So yeah, definitely a trooper. Definitely a trooper. I have done that before myself. And us aliens are really having a kind of like we're like robots, machines. We're able to just stay awake and keep on going. I admire the perseverance. So the only reason I've been drinking so long was because I had a bad day. Oh, I feel very bad that you had a bad day, and I hope that everything gets better. If I may ask, how did it go with your dog's surgery? I'd like to know an update about that. If you want to talk about it, you don't have to. So I remember last night, Abby and I were very concerned about that. Oh my goodness. That is horrid and catastrophically terrible. Oh my. Condolences for your loss, buddy. All right, we are here for you. And rest in peace. That is like the worst thing. His bone punctured his lung. Damn. That is just completely like horrible. I mean, I would be very triggered. Although the vet that I go to is brilliant, I would be really, a surgery of a dog has to be done properly. I mean, that is just devastating. Thank you, man. I appreciate the support and love. Yeah, absolutely. I know what it's like to lose pets, and a dog is also, it's like I believe cats are like this too, but it's like also like a human. The man's best friend, and they're always with us. And I would be so triggered at that vet, especially if they made a mistake on the dog. Yeah, that just it seems like a Timu Sheen surgeon. I would not be a happy camper about that. Okay, Andrew, understood. Yeah, but that is completely really messed up. I mean, in life, things happen, and we lost our cat this past year. It's rough. Yeah, condolences for your loss, Eugene. Last year or the year before, yeah, last year I had to bury Doodles. The white, the I'm getting look. Alien Spaceship said something stupid again. If anyone's having a bad day, remember Alien Spaceship said like 1,000 goofy things in one day. So I'll read something and I'll read it as another word or a letter. Like I'll see you say like Andrew and I'll think it's America. It just it's extremely stupid. Sometimes I'll say things, but anyway, the uh, Doodles was a black cat. He was a black cat. He was not anything else but a black cat, and he was very old, and his hour was coming, and it was very sad, and buried him. And then there was the other cat, who was, there was the other cat, Harry, and he lived nearly for years. Like he lived to be the age of he was like from 2006 or 7 or probably 2005. Cat died like a year or two ago, like maybe 1 year or 2 years ago. So that cat lived for an incredibly long time, and he was a very tall cat too. And yeah, he met his day, and it's sad, especially some of these older ones. They'll just kind of just go out, and then we bring them to the have to go and bury them. So what I do is, you know, our animal friends are precious. 100% true. 100% true. So they're almost like our family, like they really are like one of us. And the bond between animals and people is very strong. Now, when a bad thing happens, there's a potential for the emotions can always be directed in different ways. And I remember when the some part of last year towards the end, like a couple of months ago, there were some things that happened that weren't really too nice, and it was a messed up thing. So, but it was so much energy I had, and here we are, and I'm forging a garden live stream with all of you. So I think that connecting with people, and there's a mourning process, there's a healing process that people will take, and by doing that, it is a positive thing, to connect with people and have a community. And for those that maybe failed in something or did something that wasn't right, it's that energy can be directed and used for something to create or achieve something very great or learn something, and endurance is built. And there is so many things that I was able to do and others are able to do when like the worst thing in the world happens. And life, as I told Eugene earlier, is that life can hit you with the head with a brick. And I believe that the dark times and the hard times make strong men. So there's an opportunity for strength to be forged, just as a sword is forged in fire. And you boil it pretty much. I mean, you heat it like lava, and then it cools off into a very strong sword, kind of like Lord of the Rings, which I think is a cool movie. There's a scene where all the orcs are making weapons and like this dark dungeon thing, and yeah, we gotta like forge all those things in iron. So yeah, with so self improvement rather than self destruction. And yeah, when something is devastatingly horrible, it's normal to feel that way. It's a normal emotion people feel, and nothing wrong with that. And in honor of what doesn't work out, it does like rain. It doesn't always rain, and it doesn't always shine. It depends. It goes in cycles. And I believe life is a test. And in the long term, we will eventually achieve the goal. And not everyone believes in God, but I do believe God is the greatest planner. And actually, a lot of times when things are, and people don't have to believe in God, but you can believe in universe, karma, positive vibes, whatever it is. You can pretty much achieve anything when you realize that the one who can and can't are both correct. The kingdom of God is within man, right? So what that means is, as a parable, is that you don't have to go through a church or through anything, but it's all within yourself. For instance, here's another analogy, is that there was like Dumbo, and he was able to fly without any help, actually, technically, because he believed in himself. So that is, encouraging words that is easier said than done, including myself, but it's advice that I think has helped me tremendously. So yeah, our furry friends, our fur babies are very important. And it's like losing a loved one or losing a child. It could be absolutely devastating. And mistakes and bad things, do happen. And forging the foundation on a rock, like say like a water causes something to get swiped away, right? Like you like say like a bro makes not anyone in chat or anybody in particular, just say Joe Schmo, right? And he builds his house on a sandy cliff, right? And Eugene says, I don't get the so-called Christians sowing fear when Jesus said, fear not and worry about daily mundane. I completely agree with you, Eugene. Definitely. Because I think that, Jesus was talked about, to not worry about anything and trust in him. And you'll, just as there's crickets right now and frogs, which are looking for the frog cryptid that's somewhere around here. And all the birds and the banded puppies we see in this garden don't worry about anything. They just have peace. And, God, said to not worry and fear, because trust in him and it'll all be okay. And when things don't make sense in the long term, because there's always another day, eventually it clears up. And yeah, the frog, yes, amen, Shelley. Faith over fear. And great to see you, by the way, Shelley. Yeah, so this is we're looking for the frog cryptid that's lurking around somewhere with his thong. And yeah, that is exactly what I think is facts, is you have to have that analogy that to have fear is not faith. So having faith is important. So yeah, there's Joe Schmo, and his house was built on a sandy cliff. And there's another person with their house built on a rock. You just, this other guy wanted to build it on like a mountain cliff, right? And when the rain came to both houses, so this answers the question about why does bad things happen, is because it falls on both. It's just something that happens to all people. But if the house is built on the mountain cliff, the rock, no matter what rain or comes to it, it'll still be standing, and the Joe Schmo's house would be blown away. It will wash away because the sand and the weight of the house will cause it to go lower and just sweep away into nothing. So the rain falls on the just and the unjust. So that is extremely important concept, to have faith over fear. And there's a sound eye and a sound mind, and the the light, the lantern is the light. Like, say, like this light right here, it's important to keep that there, because if it sees darkness, that's all that's going to be there, right? And this is how dark it is without the light on. Right now you're looking at a tree, and right now you're just looking at that forest, this kind of that land where those plants are, those giant ragweeds are. Yep, you're seeing all of it, but you can't see anything. But when I do this, you see everything perfectly fine. All right. And Eugene says Afro Man made lemonade. Yeah, he definitely did. He that's what I heard about. And the also lemon pound cake. That was a wild case. That was a wild case. All right. And yeah, so since we are hearing more of the crickets right now, this means that it's getting warmer, because a lot of times when it's getting warmer, like the past few days, past few nights, when we have been going, well, it's technically morning time, but the past few nights when we've been out here, we've not heard any of these things, any of these crickets, but now they're chirping because it's not freezing cold. I'm sure people consider this warm weather, but it's been pretty cool weather. It's pretty cool weather right now. It's not really too hot, but it was kind of hot earlier. But I got everything on me with the hood, like the sweater and the hoodie on. I'm just, I feel like normal. And yeah, so that is what I think about that. Of seeing how nature turns around, you're able to see these different things. All right, and that is one of the radishes, and then that crater is where a radish was. It's 52 degrees in Virginia. Okay, yeah, it's 63 or 62 where I am in Fahrenheit. Okay, doing some garden work right here because this it's all wet. It's kind of cringe for some reason, but it's that morning dew. It's really wet. Feels weird, but anyway, we are doing it anyway. So there we go. Just kind of clearing some stuff so it's not being taken over, and the spinach is doing good. Checking on our broccoli. Broccoli is doing very well. Right there. So yeah, that is just some updates. They're both doing pretty well, and they're going to be getting bigger and bigger. Yeah, they just have dew on them. And that's why, kind of like Mountain Dew, but we're not in a mountain. So yeah, that's that right there. Yeah, it almost looks like frost all over it. Oh, you saw a video of giants in Iraq and Iran. Okay. And tell me about what you saw. That's pretty cool. You know, I know with the there is giants in Afghanistan. There's something called the Giant of Kandahar, and that giant was they were looking for missing U.S. soldiers, and what happened was they they eventually found them some parts of soldiers by a cave, and like body parts, and then they saw this giant red-haired hybrid thing that was like 13 feet tall or something crazy like that. They sent a team in Iraq during the war to take artifacts, and they are doing the same thing in Iran and Afghanistan. Yeah, that's what happened in Iraq and Iraq. They what they were doing was they were trying to find the Giant of Kandahar, and which has to do with the saint, kind of like a bringing back the Antichrist, and he's like in a hibernation state. So that was something that the Clintons were trying to get, in my opinion, and definitely artifacts, and they're trying to get portals and stuff. So basically, artifacts from the ancient world that seem to have some sort of value. And Eugene is explaining that they sent a team to take artifacts, and they're looking for giants. Oh, there's stories from soldiers that were over there in Iraq, Afghanistan, and there's one time they had a night cam, like kind of like looking at stuff like what we're doing, but with an infrared camera, and they were able to see like some of the tribal, I mean the people that were, they weren't really necessarily tribal people, but to us they'd be tribal people, and they're seeing like the locals with their by a fire, and they were hanging out there, and they saw the Nephilim type thing. So they saw a giant person. This is like back during the wars they had in the Middle East, and they had this giant person that was just standing there with them, and being with them in their camp, like a 15-foot tall person or something crazy like that, and they saw that through the infrared night camera. So definitely in the Middle East there are giants, and there's rumors of the giant hybrids. Earlier, Mermaid and I were talking about what these things will be, and why they're still here. And Eugene says, notice how the global powers never established a bank in Iran. Yeah, that is very true. That is a good point. And also North Korea and some of those other places. And I'm not a big fan of the Iranian regime, but it is also true that they don't have any major banks over there. Right. And there's theories that they want to keep on putting them in different places, and they're not over there. So that's a good thing to point out, and that raises some suspicions about different motivations of what's going on here. Yeah. So I did notice that, Eugene. It's a very, very good eye. Yeah. Because people could want to do something for various different reasons, and some people may not want to, do something with say, not like a country for various reasons, and then they might slip in some other reason that everybody can universally agree on that it's not right. Yeah. And yeah, there you go, Eugene. That is true. There's no McDonald's, and there's no McDonald's in North Korea or Iran either. That is true. There's no Popeyes. There's no Burger King. I doubt there's any. There's probably some pizza there, but I don't really know what they would have, especially North Korea. North Korea is. So that's a good point about McDonald's. And North Korea is a Pokemons village, uh, a Pokemons village. And I probably said it wrong, but a Pokemons village is saying that you have there's Arena Catherine the Great. She was visiting Crimea after the war, or some reason at some point, and this duke or this prince wanted to impress her, and she was very impressed by Crimea, but it was a bunch of fake buildings. They wasn't real. It was all smoke and mirrors to look like it was something there, but there wasn't. So that is what North Korea basically is. It's like it looks like there's something there, but there isn't. It's just it's a wasteland. And Eugene said, I saw a video about McDonald's and Big Mac economy. Ah, okay. You see, the thing about McDonald's is, back in the past, it was so different than it is now. McDonald's, when I was a kid, yeah, it was like a theme park. It was like an amusement park. And in the garden, not in the garden, in the McDonald's, you had slides and all kinds of things, and they had Ronald McDonald, and you had all these other critters, like the Hamburglar and the weird purple guy, and everybody was just there. So, and now it looks like a corporate setting. It's a complete corporate setting. And Eugene says the price of a Big Mac determines economic factors. I didn't know that. But what else did you learn from the video? I'm just curious what else they said about McDonald's and the economy. But yeah, now it looks more like Starbucks or a coffee place like that. It doesn't really look like how it did at one time back in the past. So it was really extremely messed up how a lot of us think that McDonald's was really cool back in the day and they ruined it. And McDonald's was always this place where, like, kids can play there, and it just had a theme to it. And the smell of the place also was really, like, unique. It was a unique type of place. And all the fast food places now all looked exactly the same. They all look exactly the same. They all are just like a box, a Temu Shein box. It looks like the same logos, the same type of theme inside, and it's all goofy looking now. It doesn't look bad. Like, I think they look pretty cool. It's like a cool place. It looks, like, say, very professional looking. It doesn't look horrible, but it's not like how it was before, And Eugene said it's just basically, it's No, he said it's because everywhere has a McDonald's and prices determine how economy is going globally. You know, you are right. Like everywhere does have a McDonald's all over the world pretty much. And it's a famous name. Like we were talking last night about Blockbuster and how its name was so famous and it was so powerful. There's still one alive today and they still have them. I mean, they have one left and it's a brand name. Like McDonald's is a very well-known name and it's associated with so much different stuff all globally, and it's a well-known franchise, and I do think that it would have effects on the economy. That does make sense globally because you know if you have a price of a Big Mac a certain way, you're gonna have trillions of dollars coming in, you know, to the company, and it's going to do a domino effect and a butterfly effect on all these different things. So that is what my thoughts about this. So there was Burger King and Popeyes, and yeah, even Popeyes. I think they've changed too from back in the past. Popeyes used to be very different. How they would have the way the restaurant used to look, and had these big red letters, and it was like a Popeyes type theme. And then they had this kind of cool looking like orange restaurant. Then they made it into this uh, kind of the same thing, but with like a chicken on it as a theme, and it kind of changed it up a little bit. Nothing wrong with evolving a brand over time, but it was definitely not the same as it was before. Young people are going to for more artisanal and local restaurants, not chains. Oh, okay. Okay. So, a reason why, yeah, I remember maybe a reason why they've changed the theme is because of those type of factors that they wanted to make it that way, as you say it, with the different chains, to appeal to the younger audience of today. And they wanted to give it more of a corporate look, and they wanted to market McDonald's as a healthier type of restaurant than the older ones, and the older version, and less for kids. But so do you so local restaurants, so uh, I'm not too sure of like what names of some of these local restaurants are. I am not certain about that, but I would be interested to know of one or two of them. But I would definitely think that people, shift over time with different trends and themes. And I suppose it all goes in cycles, and they didn't like how it was before. So, and a lot of times people don't trust big corporations anymore like they may have in the past. So that is something else to be taken in consideration. And people might want to have different types of diets. People might want to have different types of ways that they consume their meals and stuff now. And there's a big elephant in the room is price. A lot of times things are so expensive now that people want to just go and get something completely different because it's too expensive or it's not that healthy or whatever it is. And whatever's trending, people are going to go with that. And for instance, there's Red Lobster. I've not been there in years, but Red Lobster is a that one was a popular place. I don't know if it's still popular, but that one had some very fascinating food. Now, with lobsters, they're actually peasant food from medieval times. Probably in certain civilizations, it was more of like a peasant food, but then it became like a luxury food at some point. And Raising Cane's is popular with young people. It is popular with young people. When I was in the Key Club thing, looks like some banded puppies are fighting each other. But when I was in the Key Club thing, they would give out these free coupons for Raising Cane. And I never heard of anything like that before. But boy, is it good. I had Raising Cane's many times, and when I was in high school, I had it, and then when I grew up even more, I had it again. I haven't had it in a few years or so, but I had it, recent times, but not too recently. So it definitely that's good. I remember one time I went to Raising Cane's for the first time, and there was a dude that was doing some sort of chicken dance, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is a party place, I suppose. It was like one of the people working there doing a chicken dance or something, and I'm like, okay. And you prefer Zaxby's? You know, I live under a rock, and I don't know anything about Zaxby's. So can you tell me what it is about exactly? I'd like to know. Chicken tenders, but with more sauces. Well, that is really delicious because the sauces really can uh, add all kinds of different flavors. Yeah. So, what is the theme of Zaxby's? Do they have a symbol or some theme? Like, is it like a beaver or like what is the theme of the uh, place? It's a chicken. Okay, I gotcha. Yeah. Well, Zaxby's. It sounds like a cool place, and I'm sure they have all kinds of different you know stuff there. Does it have French fries and hamburgers, or is it just chicken strips? I mean, chicken tenders. See, chat, y'all are viewing some banded puppies that are probably having some sort of a duel of some kind. That's what the noises are. Yeah, and at times I think it'd be very, very loud, and I'll get scared. But it's actually not really too bad when, I get in the hush up. It's chicken tenders with more options than Raising Cane's. That is so cool, dude. I definitely would go to a place like that. And there is something lurking there. Scared. All right. Let's see. All right. See if anything pops out on us. See those raccoons, I suppose. Yeah, of like Popeyes, for instance, has mashed potatoes and gravy. That's a cool thing they have. I think they have macaroni too. So when chicken places like that are able to give those options, it's always very cool. I think Raising Cane's has a lot of marketing gimmicks to it with the dog, and they had a big campaign. So yeah, that is pretty cool that they had that. So, but anyway, those other smaller chains are pretty cool too. Okay, and Shelly says, I want to try Jollibees. Shelly, and what do they serve at Jollibees? I am very curious what that is. And it sounds really cool. And Eugene says, I worked for KFC and they really fell off from when I started. Oh, Eugene, how did they fall off from when you started? I'm very curious. And yeah, they have these, a lot of times these places will fall from grace from when they used to be pretty cool. And then they go downhill. Oh, hello, Adar. Welcome back to the stream. Yeah, we are talking about different food places and the states and hanging out. Yeah. So, yeah, anyway. So basically, there we go. Let's see this fight. Anyway, Eugene says they had way better stuff. They got rid of good stuff. They brought back the Twister wrap recently. Oh, that is... Well, I guess it's good they're getting better. That's something good to know. And they got rid of the good stuff, but they brought back the Twister wrap. Yeah. Oh, we have definitely options of getting different types of plants are cool. Plant suggestions I like to know, but yeah, definitely this region is like a where the giant hedge plants grow. Like these grow very big and they cover the whole thing. They cover all of that in the summer. And I don't know what I'm going to do with this plot. I might clear it and put something else there, but yeah, definitely a good idea. Yeah. And Shelly says fried chicken spaghetti. I think it's Korean. That's really cool. Spaghetti and fried chicken. That's a very good combo. Yeah. and they put all kinds of Asian sauces on those things that are really nice. And yeah, they brought the Twister back. Eugene, I want to know one good thing that the KFC used to have, but they took away. One thing that they have, because I know at KFC they had the bucket. Many years ago, I got the KFC and it was a big bucket of fried chicken, and I got those French fries. The French fries were very different looking and more natural looking than like the other type of French fries. And I got a drink too, so I thought it tasted good, but I understand that some think that it may not be the way it's supposed to be. But whenever the okay, understood, Adar. Okay, understood. And let's see, wedges, right, right. Okay, let's see some of those rats. Those rats probably running around. Okay, and Eugene says KFC popcorn chicken, different sauces and roasted chicken. Oh, that. Yeah, that is messed up that they took those away. And that is very messed up. And Adar, this night it's much more warm than it was like when you were here last time. So there's more insects, like crickets chirping, than the time when you were here, because it's warming up a little bit. And I like popcorn chicken. When I was in Mississippi, so Mississippi is a country place, kind of like you see here, but way more um, country than it is this place is. And I will say, even with the current place where I am, is more tropical or jungly than it's like a forest. But up there, it was like a forest, and they, more a foresty place. And there was a Walmart, and the Walmart had so much. They would do a lot of hunting there, so there was lots of hunting gear. But so what that looks like at ours, like say you see this, right, and you see these trees, especially this one over here, and you will have like like a shirt or like a clothes with tree pictures and pictures of plants, and they used it as camouflage when they would do hunting. And I think they're just nice to wear because you don't have to hunt with it, but it's just a nice camouflage that when you're in like sitting here or in there, like say if you're sitting in here and you just blend in with everything. Brazilian 60% depends upon. Okay. Okay. And yeah, what I see is and by the way, it's just for the record, my point is the popcorn chicken was something that they sold at the Walmart there. And the Walmart was so cool. And I love the popcorn chicken. It was very good. So that is where it was like a forest place, and they would have a big supermarket, and they would have popcorn chicken there. And Eugene says, I loved the KFC Zinger sauce. So, Eugene, describe to me what that type of sauce is exactly. Because I don't think I've ever had that before. At dinner, I ate a dip that was from a pepper that I never had. I either haven't had it in a long time or I never had it. So that was an interesting day with that type of sauce I had. It was like a dip that I never had before. So I always like to try new things. Hot mayo sauce. Okay. And when you have hot mayo sauce, something that I think sounds very good, and I'll certainly like to try that at some point. And I don't know why KFC would take away their essential products like that. And when you have that factor in consideration, with the mayo, hot mayo, I've had salad dressing that's similar to what you're talking about. I had ghost pepper ranch, and that's really cool because the spice adds like a little bit of a, you know, an enhancement to it. I feel like I'm a cowboy herding around cattle because, you know, there's a raccoon, a banded puppy, in here somewhere, and I hear him, and they're just pretty much all over the place. Oh yeah, look at this. Let's see. You see somewhere over here. Oh, there he is. Right there. I saw the eyes for a second. There he is. I see you. Okay. Yeah, and I remember I've never hunted before, but I know about when I was taught about hunting by people at the campground. You have to be very still like you're a log, like how I'm standing. Sometimes snakes and stuff will slither on you, but you just gotta be still. That's kind of like how I'm able to see these raccoons very easily and like show you all these animals. Yes, I need to hold out some pastrami for the bandit puppy. I do. I need to get them some treats. Absolutely. All right. And there he is right there. Very cool. Probably doesn't even know I exist. Or he, you know, there might be more tamed than they used to be. More domesticated. Seeing if I'm going to see if y'all are saying anything. Let's see. Yeah, raccoon. See, this hand's better. I can see chat. Yeah, you can even hear like the cricket in the background chirping. Yeah. That is so cool. Oh, I'm at the corner of my eye. I see another one. I hear a really angry crow in the distance. I don't know where it's. Yeah, you see, he hears it too. And maybe it's dropping a drill rap album. Okay. Yeah, he is scavenging. So what the raccoon is doing right now is he's scavenging for some grub worms. A lot of times the banded puppies dig in the ground for grub worms. And that is what he is feasting on. Of course, we do need to get him something, you know, besides that. Yeah, he is looking around, and I don't even know if he's just might be more domesticated, but yeah, he's just uh, definitely chilling. And the alien nature garden walk. Yeah. All right, and that's more of the tail you can see. How he is able to, I don't know, he's just kind of, now he's kind of going back in. Damien says it must suck to be a raccoon or a bunny. It's a wild for inside, but barely wild enough to be outside. Yeah, that is a very good point. It's like they're in a twilight zone. They're in between two different worlds. And it's too wild for inside, but barely wild enough to be outside, because I do think a part of it is the raccoon. We call them also banded puppies. They like to be kind of around humans, and they're kind of being domesticated over time, but they are at also to, although there are some people that have them as pets, actually, they don't a lot of times have them, like you have a cat or a dog. It's just a few people that do that, but yeah, they are. I believe though over time there will be a day where they will be able to be completely domesticated and brought, inside, but or some sort of form of like captivity like that. But yeah, they are not quite there yet with being brought inside. Definitely. And they're not even wild enough to be outside, because the way they just like to, as we saw on the camera a moment ago, how they just like to be on the camera and eat, and just seemed modest and reserved, like you almost want to hug it and bring it inside, or bring he or she inside. And now there are times, like we were talking about them being wild, they can get very angry and fight each other and get, it sounds like the world's ending, but still that's their wild side. But at the same time, they could eat something like that and be really nice, and gentle too. So it's kind of like different than a jaguar or something like that. There's even people that have as pets, and some people have possums. Now there's possums around here, but for some reason we're in Raccoon Cove at the moment. Different regions of this area has more possums, and they're not really good with sunlight. Look, there's not even sun right now. They're not even, yeah, that'll make sense what I just said. They're not really good with darkness. Like, look, if I turn this off, that's what it looks like right now. All the raccoons and stuff would just look dark. But with the light on, you're able to see everything. So the possums do better in more better lit parts of the area. Anyway, and raccoon woods, forest. True, I feel they are slowly evolving to become softer like dogs. I do agree with you, judging by what I see, and Eugene and I have discussed about this, how they are becoming, they're evolving because they're around people so much. Just as cats and dogs are around people for thousands of years, the raccoons are around people and in urban areas a lot, and they're getting more used to us, just as different species on different islands or birds and things adapted to their environment for eating seeds and whatnot. The raccoons over time are adapting to their environment and becoming more like dogs, and at some point in the future they'll eventually get there. But yeah, we're watching the evolutionary process of their psyche that is getting more gravitational towards that. And they're kind of similar to foxes too. I mean, the raccoons are related to the bears and a couple of different species, their cousins or have similar families with. So that is pretty cool to see. Now there's a wild cat that, it's a car I don't know how to pronounce the word. It's like a kind of crazy looking, mean, like bobcat looking thing that some people have in their homes or that are into taking care of those things, and they're kind of becoming sort of domesticated, but they look kind of crazy, and they get all angry and start hissing. So uh, there, the raccoon we just saw over here was very peaceful and gentle. Almost as I said, just our instincts, as we see our pets, we are adapting to them too. I think it also goes both ways, where we're also seeing their ways and how we could be with them. That is another factor too. I think is the mutual bonding between the two different species is good, that we're seeing traits in their evolutionary development to similar to our pets. There's some people that even have pet possums and things like that. And an example of the wild ones over there, they're being sometimes they get a little bit into fights and get kind of out of hand, but that's kind of more on their territorial side. But yeah, they definitely it kind of reminds me of like the Disney, some of the Disney movies where they have the little animals that like will eat food and stuff. That's what these some of these raccoons here remind me of when they're just kind of scavenging for things. Because I always wondered why they dug in the ground, and the reason why they're digging in the ground is they're looking for some grub worms and different types of things in the ground. They seem to do pretty well with eating them, and even the plants and stuff of I was talking about corn was a blade of grass at one time, and then they were able to evolve it to become a bigger piece of corn like what we have today. It was just grass. Like, I could kind of tell it looks like grass because when I'd play, different sport games, and back in school, and there's PE and stuff like that. There's playgrounds to play on back then, and I would see the grass, and it looked kind of like a corn plant, and I thought about it, and I looked it up, and that was true. It was a type of corn plant. It's a grass is corn and the same thing. So definitely animal species can also adapt to it, just like a finch or a mockingbird. Their beaks can change on different islands to adapt to the environment. Same thing psychologically with the raccoon species. So I do think raccoons and possums are getting more domesticated, by being in these urban areas more, where you probably have some other type of critter who may not be around humans as much and more in a natural habitat, in a wild natural habitat that is, not really close to being domesticated around humans, because it's in the urban city areas. That's where a lot of them are at. But in the past, they were in the woods and wilderness. And there's something actually called the bear coon, something or no, there's something called the dog coon. And I learned about I was on my DSI like growing up, and I looked it up, and yeah, because I had a theory that there's a larger species of raccoon, and yeah, in Asia there's something called the dog coon, and it's like a dog sized, a really big raccoon looking thing, and it's really, it looks like a German Shepherd, but a raccoon version. And it seems to be native to Asia, although raccoons seem to come from North America. And yeah, so it has a cousin. It may not even be related to it, but I'm just going to call it its cousin because it is its cousin. And it has the bandit mask and everything. And they are just really large, and, there's different variations of their species. So different regions have different raccoon types. Now, I have seen in the past where I was talking about this on the show, where back, many, many, many years ago, I saw a very strange looking raccoon, banded puppy, that was brown and had a long snout, and it had a very long tail too. And I didn't know what it was ever until a couple of years, not a couple of years, like last year, friends and I were talking about it on YouTube chat rooms, and it's a raccoon that's native to Mexico and South America. So there's a different variations of the species. The Cootamundi, and there's places where they can crawl on people, and they just like chilling. So all the different raccoon species are starting to adapt with the different environments that they're in with humans. And I think it's a very cool concept how a raccoon from a different species they look kind of like lemurs. You know, they look they're kind of like a monkey looking thing, more so than a raccoon. But they're able to adapt and become family with the other raccoons, and just be kin with them. So it's fascinating how these different types of cousins can adapt and uh, go along with the rest of them. That they have like a mutual agreement that they're part of a tribe of them. So, although there are brown raccoons that are the regular kind, you know, they usually have more square heads and they're small and big, kind of like kind of fat and like kind of like a ball. Yeah. One time there was raccoons fighting in a tree and they fell out the tree and they were heading towards me. It looked like a furry cannonball. I got a little scared and I got out the way. And they were okay though. They landed on the ground, but they're okay. Then they started chasing each other around, and it was kind of funny. So that is some raccoon theories and different philosophical view about the raccoons. So definitely, this is a interesting study to see how different species, you know, even in these gardens that I have, fare out. Yeah. Right. And yeah, that now it's getting more quiet. It seems that with like the crickets and stuff, I hear the crickets still. They're just not as loud as they were earlier. And that is, yeah, that is more faint. So definitely they can do stuff like that, the different raccoons. And the insects seem to kind of die down as the night goes on. Where I am, it's 4:12 a.m. By the way. Okay, and so tonight, yeah, definitely lots of activity. So there is definitely raccoons. Those darn banded puppies love the cat food a lot, and those are good to good to know. But they like all kinds of other things too, like apples and berries and stuff like that. And it's so funny, like when they eat something, they take it in their hands and eat them, and they they also could stand up on their hind legs. I mean, I remember one time when I was in the further back, like you know, you see me back here, I was like further back than that, and I was looking to the right, and I saw a raccoon standing on its hind legs, looking at me like a G, like a gangster, like a gangster. And I was like, "Whoa, that's cool." I didn't. And it was a little bit freaky at the same time. It was just standing up, and it was like he was ready to square up. And it wasn't angry; he was just standing up. Because sometimes when they see something, they can come stand up on their hind legs, and it's pretty incredible. So it was in that direction, and Bandit Puppy Alley over there. And right there, it's a something cool. It's a really a dark green leaf, you know, like you have this leaf that's like dark green and one that isn't. Because, like, I'm telling you, that's like what broccoli looks like when it's grown. It's very dark green. Yeah, and sometimes the raccoons, they'll make water very messy and dirty because they basically take a whole bath when they eat something. And it's a bit kind of like bro, this is a bro takes a whole shower and 3 baths when he's like eating a cat snack, you know. And just some random like side thing is these raccoons will go and do this other thing, right? Where they get territorial over the food sometimes and kind of like try to like kind of intimidate each other. But then there's another bowl, kind of like the cats. They'll go look at a bowl, and the bowl, they think the other cat has something special, so they leave their own bowl to go over to the other bowl, and they both have the same thing. Yeah. So catnip is the thing I'm side railing us on. Is catnip something I tried to grow one time and it didn't completely go. I mean, it worked pretty well, but one time it didn't always go that well. But there's different ways to grow it, and some of these plants you have to put it like on top of the soil for it to completely work. And when you have that happen, you then grow it up. Now, catnip was an herbal type of plant from a long time ago, used by colonists and stuff for like, they make it into like a tea, or when you're like sick, they'll give it to you and it helps you feel better. But it was also the cats were addicted to it. Not addicted to it, but they got high from it. So then it became known for something for cats. And with the catnip, it was really cool to see how when they're on a plant, like if cats are on a plant, I've also seen videos of it. They'll get all foamy at the mouth and they'll like maybe trip, they'll hallucinate about catching mice that aren't there. That's what I saw on the different videos about what cats do around the catnip plant, which is something that I'll be growing again. And when I was like, catnip seeds, that was so cool. There was a funny incident that happened. So I was talking to some. There was a time where I had a flip phone, and I posted about the flip phone inside the rice. There's a rumor that a phone in rice would make it would fix a phone if it was left outside, because I was goofy or something, and right over here somewhere I left the phone outside, and it rained. It was a flip phone. And what happened next was that basically it had to be put in rice, and I had a comic book, like a Marvel like Spider-Man comic book, and it has a picture of a bag of catnip for the cat in like a clear plastic bag, and all my friends were saying that, oh, I know the plug, and my friend was like, "What's in this bag, dude? Come on." And I said, "It's catnip." He's like, "Come on, come on." And the dude had to look it up, and he's like, "Oh, this is real," because he thought I was pulling his leg. I was talking about catnip. He's like, "It's stuff's real," and that was funny. I was the talk of the town then. Uh, about that, yeah. That is a magical little cluster of a bunch of clovers right there. Yeah, I hear that cricket in the background. He's there. Okay, and it looks like all the raccoons are resting and are, I suppose, and a lot of the insects are too. Okay, and okay, this is a cool breeze. I remember the mornings, it would be cool and crispy like this. The wind comes in and it crisps around, and that is always nice to see. And when the moon is, I mean, not the moon, but the wind, even I remember around one time in October, it was like kind of cool at night, and you just kind of go and hang out. So yeah, and those are the trains. Those are trains. They don't want like cars and stuff to get rolled over. Yeah, but this is basically the scenery at night. It's nice and peaceful, and it is really cool. Yeah, and we would go to different places sometimes, and I liked it. It was, yeah, back because it would be, starting to get fall and we get warmer. I mean, it would get cooler. Now I do see the dipper, but y'all probably can't see it. Let's see. Okay, that is a star right there that y'all can see. And that's probably something you can't see. Where you're right there is where the dipper is, but you can't really see it. But you can see a part of the dipper right there. Right there. Shining through the tree. It's always very neat. Okay. All right, and we have, these right here. Let's see if there's any more of these things doing cricket stuff right here. Let's see. Though you see these flowers closed up because it's not daytime, but during the daytime they open up. Right, and right here is just more of those types of things right there. Okay, and it looks like something is in there moving around. Nice. Okay, and let's see, and then that's the palm tree, and that's the glow in the dark tree over there. All right. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, we are. And I really do think this plant, it's a hybrid between a dandelion and some sort of spiky plant. I don't know if it's a different species, but it's definitely some sort of a spiky mutation between both of them. Yeah, and those are the milkweeds. Pretty cool. Yeah, and there's some crickets in here. Shout out to the hood folks in the distance. Doing their thing. Yeah. Yeah, so nice, peaceful crickets right here. Mm-hmm. But when it's freezing cold out here, you don't hear anything. Yeah. So we have those, and okay. One of my favorite things about this place is the train sound effects. Those are always very cool and nostalgic. Like for some reason, the train sounds will be a source of nostalgia. You know, just in general, and it could be like kind of adventurous vibes to it. Even if I've never been on a train, or maybe I've been on a train like when I was very little, it still is like a nostalgic thing. There was, you know, they don't really use the charcoal trains anymore, but they maybe they use them a little bit, but now they use more of the type of, you know, gasoline trains. Yeah, it's a cool breeze. See, it's a cool breeze, and it's nice, and you got those stars right there. And I hear one of the banded puppies in the background. Nice. Okay. Yeah, I hear him. All right. Yeah, so that's what this part looks like without the light on. So that's like my view usually. It's you know, I just like the, you know, the darkness is good for, I like my eyes do good with this type of darkness. It's pretty cool. Okay. And yeah, there'll be more of this will be cleared out later for something else I'm putting here. There's a lot to do with the land. Lot to do. We're getting closer to spring. Other people are getting bad snowstorms, and that people are getting annoyed by it. And that definitely, you know, over time, we would hope to have as much as possible for their spring to come soon, because a lot of time it could feel like they're almost in a prison. You know, almost like, you know, being inside the prison of snow, because I guess when people see the snow over and over again, although people down here love snow, people up north, like, you see it so much they have enough of it and they want to see the spring or go to a beach. So it definitely is interesting how like people like want something like snow and they don't want snow, but I guess having snow for a couple of days or a week or so is fine. Then if it's happening too much, people are going to want to not have it anymore. I found out that there's hybrid bananas. There's bananas that are sort of hybrid like, and they're able to be blue, or you know, I don't know how they did it, but they're able to mutate them and make them into different colors. Now, there's there's blue strawberries. Now, strawberries are something really cool to ponder and grow, and of course having the right proper bug nets and stuff, because they nice and sweet, and as I said, something right from the plant is always very good. You know, very different than actually having that type of situation. There will be like random like train noises, and it's like you wonder like, oh, what they're exactly thinking when it's like very faint. It's like just something. I know they have to do it to get people the cars and stuff out the way, but it's kind of like funny when you have like one little touch. Because I do music on the channel too, and you know, putting little touches and sound effects is also very good to do. Yeah. And I usually watch the constellations change as as it goes on, because it can, you know, when you're at night and you look at the different constellations you have, and then they change all over. It's something very magical to see. I always like the concept of trains. They're cool, and you know, they used to be used for a lot of transportation. You know, people used to use them all the time. Now really the internet is the locomotives of history. The internet is the locomotive of history because it's able to do so much. And the way we see each other do all these things is definitely similar to how people in the past used those same trains and those mechanisms to, do stuff like that. Some people used to use the coal for their own houses and heating because it would just fall off you would have these trains with the smoke, and they would have these big crates with coal in it, and they would just shovel it in, and sometimes it'd fall out the top. And I think it is just seeing how it evolved over time is good now. And we have, look who it is. Look who it is, chat. It's Claude. There he is. This cat just casually just passing through. He came to say hello on the live stream. Yeah, but China has much more advanced trains than we do, and it's so much advanced and evolved than ours, and also Europe's as well. It's like they're like futuristic and crazy looking. Well, China has this AI that is able to do kung fu, and we have our world leaders on Epstein's Island. So you really have a paradox of West having Temu Sheen problems there. Claude, he is. What do I think COVID came from? Yeah. In my opinion, the COVID-19, it seems that it was probably made in a laboratory, and I'm a conspiracy theorist, and that's what it seems to be the case about that. And now the main narrative about it is that a bat in Wuhan was able to infect people because people ate a bat with something in it. But next to Wuhan, there's a laboratory where people, were maybe doing some experiments. So that is what I think certainly occurred. It was not like what they're saying it was. It's just they were talking about. Yes, exactly, Blacksmith. No, not Blacksmith. It's Blake. Because I've talked about blacksmith stuff before, and my ancestors some of them were blacksmiths, so that's what it looked like just off the bat. But looking more detail, it's Blake. Okay, very cool name, by the way. And yeah, Blake, population elimination. Bill Gates was talking about a crisis happening, a pandemic wiping out the population. He was talking about that right before, a couple of years before the COVID-19 happened. And they always talk about, there's too many people in the population, and the population needs to go down. And there's even extraterrestrials allegedly say that there's too many Earth people on the planet and it's overpopulated. You could put the entire population of Earth in LA. It's really ridiculous what these claims are, what they say, because they just want to do population elimination, in my opinion, and with the foods and the different diseases and stuff, the elites and things like that, I believe may have alien technology that they're hiding from us, and they want the regular population to die down. Yes, exactly. In the streets, it's sad. Yes. And they want to, like the slums, like back in London, in the 1800s, they had people that would live in slums, and they were just in complete poverty. And that was extremely messed up, that what occurred with that. And something going on here. Let's see. Not too sure. And as we continue. Yeah, definitely sad. And so basically the point is that they want to do population control, and a lot of these people of like Fauci and them were working on, okay, there is no spaceships on the ground, dude. Oh, really? Well, you see, if you had alien eyesight like I do, you'd be able to see the clear ship that's right in front of you. Right? You'd be able to see it right there. Now, the only ones you can see is the ones up there. Right? That's a spaceship right there in the sky. But with alien vision, you're able to see the whole thing right here. You know, it's it looks like grass and different plants to you, but there's actually a blue spaceship that is just chilling right there. So there you go. It just depends, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It just depends on what people see and what don't see. And let's see, live in the streets, it said. So yeah, with the population control, Bill Gates was talking about that happening, and Fauci and them were working on something like that at some point. And there is a cat fight. We're going to break up. And let's see here. Okay. This problem here. Okay. Alrighty. Let's solve this issue. Come on. Come on. Come on. Alright. Alright. So there is a cat that is trying to be mean to another one. So we're trying to get him to not do that. Okay, come on. Come on, Claude. Okay. Come on. Alright. Okay. And we're bringing him back this way. Alright, and let's see Claude, right here. Okay, you can't be doing stuff like that. It's not nice. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, that is the truth about the Fauci and those people. They want to do population control and cause problems to the people of Earth with these diseases and foods and plastics, all for the elites to control the population and for their own scientific experiments, almost like we are their guinea pigs in a way. And there's these plagues and stuff that happen where if something like that really got bad, all of the infrastructure of society would collapse. There would be no electricity, running water, anything like that. So that is absolutely true. During that time period in China, it looked really bad, but whenever it got here, it was bad, but it didn't really get to the point where it caused such a problem that everybody started dropping dead. Like the Black Plague, people were dying in the streets everywhere. You didn't really, in my opinion, people could disagree with me, didn't really have that happening here like that. So, there you go. That is a fact right there. And as people are wearing the masks, and a lot of times it can go through the mask. It can go through the eyes and all kinds of things. Why do you think these big politicians still walk free? Are they paid? I Yeah, we are pausing their game. That is true. We are pausing their game. And so the politicians, I think that they are paid, and I think they are bought, and I do think, foreign countries seem to, in my opinion, take advantage of our country and bribing the politicians and, you know, wanting them to do what they want them to do for their agendas. So when you have foreign countries influencing our politicians and also elites too, and people with political agendas to buy out politicians to make them do what they want to do, that's a problem. Like, say, with Epstein, you have all those people that were, involved in it, that were hiding it for years and years and years. But they eventually were exposed, and everybody's innocent. No one did anything wrong all of a sudden. So that is how the Ninja said it's capitalism. Hello, MG, and hello, Ninja. Welcome. And Blake said, I'm not mad us as America, we step up, but I'm mad that these people on that list still walk free. Yeah, and Blake, our country does step up, and it is good that we do that. And I do think at the same time, my opinion, it is good to put America completely first. And if we were doing anything that would cause problems to our own people, I think it should be reconsidered how it affects everything. But yes, our country does stand up, and that makes us good and makes us American. And the fact that we do stand up, we wouldn't want people trying to take advantage of our kindness, because our kindness as Americans are not weakness, and we stand up to the plate when necessary. And I am mad, Blake, as well, that people on the list still walk free. And there's lots of parts of the Epstein files that aren't really known, that they didn't really release. And all these people that were involved with this, like adrenochrome, right? There's adrenochrome allegedly that is harvested from blood of babies, right? So there's theories that these ancient rituals pagans did, right, in the past. So there's theories that that's what they were doing because it harvests a type of energy these demonic, like satanic people have. I know it's a far-off conspiracy theory, but that's what I think they do. And another factor is into this is they were doing stuff to children that was evil, and they had these international trafficking rings everywhere. So I do agree that they're probably bought out and paid by people higher up that want to keep people's mouths shut and think there's McCaslin that went missing. There is the Reza, that woman that went missing that had to do with the scientific community stuff. There's that other person. There's Virginia Guth. No, not Virginia. There is Guthrie that went missing too in the same region. So there's theories these people knew something they were trying to hide. Right. So I do think the higher ups are trying to do that. And let's see, Rice says, please watch Bold and Beautiful's Trixie, Kate's, Katya, physiological messages. And they walked over us, but why should we spend billions on others when we have our own begging for help? You see, Blake, there's our own veterans that are on the streets, poor, and having nothing. So I do think that I totally agree with you. When our own people, there's people in California, there's people in LA, which is in California, and all over the country that are either in poverty, that are struggling. There's people that are in, homeless. There's people that live in their car, they can't afford anything. So I definitely do think that there is a problem with the way the billions are sent to different places and different politicians, etc., but not for our own people. So I do think if money goes somewhere, it should go to our people. A Leatherface, you like cats? That's cool. Facts. So I definitely agree, Blake. And a cute kitty, exactly our own. Right. And we're not against other nations, other countries. and we do have good allies, but there's a, kindness, someone's like nice all the time, helping everybody, but there's a point where you have to help yourself, right? And, we helped World 2. We've done a lot of great things for the world, and there's NATO that doesn't even pay for anything. Oh, okay, Adder, nice. Leatherface wants to have a pet bobcat, but they're illegal. There's a type of cat on YouTube called the car cackle. As I said, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's a people get a license for it. It's a cat from Africa, and people have those, and they are cool. They're actually very terrifying, scary, and they hiss and scream and at everybody. But still, people do have some wild cats with a license. But yeah, the bobcats are where it's at. There's some people that have like lions and different wildcats, like in Middle East and places of that nature. So they are out there. Yeah, only in Texas are they official. Yeah, right on the, yep, right there, guarding the house. And it's like if anybody like comes in like that is like lurking around that's not supposed to be there, that the bobcat's gonna hiss. And Blake said nope, right? All right. You can own a bobcat or a cougar with a Class B wildlife permit. Fleet, I never knew that. That is cool. You know, as I was figuring there's some sort of license to own those type of cats, but I'm not really familiar with it. So, okay, thanks for the info. And so that's what I think. Inflation needs to go down. You have to have the America completely reset, and pharmaceutical companies need to not just make money off of people suffering, but they also need to try to help people too. If they are doing something that's nefarious, it needs to stop, because it makes tons and tons of money. Their industries. It's all about making more and more and more, giving people less and less. Right. And yes, they are very good for my barn and farm. Yep. Yeah, I'm sure it's they're there, and they're going to help them out, help out with everything that you need them to do. Yeah. Oh, Fleet had both. Well, that is gangsta. Texas has its own taste. That is true, Adar. Adar, yes. Oh, and then Blake said, sorry to tell you what they aren't. And maybe maybe there's bobcat whisperers. I'm certainly cat whisperer, where I'm able to get this cat not to go do anything that he's going to regret later, because he likes to be bad sometimes. But yeah, the America first always, and we are not against any allies, but we must not be too nice, and also help our own people. People on the Epstein list need to be exposed, and the missing people that are disappearing for no reason, that knew about UFOs, like McCaslin knew about extraterrestrials. And I do think extraterrestrials and aliens are connected with Epstein stuff, because those may be the fallen entities that they're worshiping or influenced by, and they're both interconnected. So I think Epstein files being released is important, and the aliens, there's something called aliens.gov, and aliens.gov is something that they have, and that they're going to release more information about it. And I think both are important. One shouldn't distract from the other. And I am going to do more videos about Epstein. And there's some more in the files that I'm going to do videos about, because there's some victims' detailed testimonies that I thought was very shocking indeed. Oh, chickens are cool. One of my friends, she has a farm, and there is lots of stuff over there where, different like baby goats, and there's chickens, like a commercial farm for chickens, and all kinds of stuff. There's a goat that is a taxi driver, and he has a chicken that rides in his back. It's real funny. And there's this one like pony, like a Shetland pony, that runs around and bosses around the little goats. It's really hilarious. Goats and cows. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. My friend was telling me she has a farm where like the goats, not the goats, but the cows, you have to be kind of quiet around them, because they get upset, and they can keep on like walking around. No, they can get upset and charge at you. So you have to be chill around them. But yeah, definitely cows are very very nice, and I've seen them before on the farms. And there's different types. Chicken that you eat is different than the type of chicken you have eggs from. Yes, Captain, it's an alien cat. Right on. So, oh, scared, Leatherface, scared. Yeah, so that is there's poultry chicken, right? It's very different looking than chicken you have that lays eggs, and there's chickens that lay eggs in a coop. And it's something I didn't really realize. They're both different types of chickens. Yes, Cat. He's going to take us to his leader. He may even be the leader himself, but he's either the leader or he's going to take us to his leader, right? Lions make great pets. They are super affectionate. Oh yeah, Fleet. They are very, very affectionate and warm and cozy. Yep. And they have a cute little meow, and there's not a violent bone in their body. Now I think Simba, he is and his father were some of the nicest lions that ever walked the earth. But big cats and their instincts are unpredictable. That is true. It's like the tides of nature. You know what, Captain? I think your spidey senses are right. That is Odin reincarnated, the one-eyed wise man. And Thor is lurking. The Thor cat is lurking somewhere around here, but that is Odin himself as a cat. And I did hear a raven earlier, so definitely seems. Even a house cat's claws are enough, let alone big cats. You can imagine being pets. Yeah, I mean, you could be. I was thinking about one of those carcoal things that I was talking about before. If one of those things scratch you, it's going to be like a whole other. The scratches you're going to have are going to be astronomical. One time, one of my a little banter. Yeah, one time one of my. Oh, okay. Thanks, Captain. Thanks for stopping by. Nice wallpaper. I mean, nice profile pic, by the way. And they're the biggest pet cats. I think this one's the biggest one, but the bobcat is second. All right. And yes, and shot the captain. Cool vibes. Cool vibes. And so there is this situation where my cat Normal, she was on this shelf, and she slipped and by mistake, and I caught her with my arm so she wouldn't fall, and my arm was shredded with blood. Imagine if it had one of those big cats, I would have a chicken strip arm. I'd have a Temu Sheen chicken strip arm. Yeah, definitely, definitely. I hear you. I hear everybody. Okay, and um, understood chat. Let's see, and we can be food. Yeah, the cats. I guess those big cats would be food. And let's see. Never stare down a lion. They will roar in your face, and that's about the most intimidating thing you ever experience. Fleet, I think that it would cause anybody to go in fight flight mode to the nine lives would fly past your eyes in 2 nanoseconds. Yeah. People want grizzly pets. Well, Blake, my friend, she has a farm, and she's freaked out and scared of the cows. The cows can be some of the animals can be pretty intimidating. And he was talking about the big cats, those like lions and stuff. And people could be afraid of something but still face it anyway. You could have fear and go charge into battle anyway. Emotion is normal to feel. It depends what someone does with it. But it's a good question. Someone with a farm would be more used to them. And I definitely think with lions and those bigger bobcat things, that carcass thing is crazy. Like it goes and starts acting all nuts. And I could see where people might be scared. Yeah, but I believe Epstein is still alive, and Ghislaine is still alive too. I definitely think they're alive. All right, and let's see. Lions, mountain lions, and boys of troll. Yeah, well, I think what Leatherface may have been trying to say is like a hypothetical, you know, situation. Now there might be some Timu Sheen lions out there. There might be one from Timu or Sheen in that region. But I don't know what is in Texas and what isn't in Texas, and I would like to, thank you, Blake, for your take on this matter. I appreciate it. And cougar's bigger than bobcat. Lynx even bigger than bobcat. The lynx is pretty crazy looking. It's like one of those fluffy cats with long hair. But the thing about the cat is that it's like a huge version of it. So definitely like giantism. Okay. All right. See, Google gets them. Yeah, yeah. Canadian lynx is cute, fluffy hair. Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. They are cute. And back into the abyssal yard. Okay, and let's do this. Let me bring this right here. That is true, Blake. I agree. Money keeps them alive. And here he is. There's Claude. He followed me. Yeah, owning a big cat, not for everyone. My kid called me Dr. Doolittle, so I seem to have connection to most animals, but they're not much different than Tabby. Just keep them well fed. I will keep that in mind about keeping them well fed. That definitely seems like a wise thing to do because they might want you for lunch. And owning big cats only for a rich dude who can sell his organs to rich people like Joe King. There's a thing about how Kim Jong Un. Okay, so there in China, there was these things that happened where people had a situation where they would. There was an abandoned place in China, and what happened was they found an organ harvesting. A streamer was like going in there, and they found some alleged organ harvesting. And when that happened, people were very upset about it, and it seems like it was probably true. And going over here, let's see. All right. I'm closing this. Alrighty. Going back in a moment. Let's see. Okay. All right, I'm gonna turn a light on so people can see me. All right, here I am. I just came in. So Leatherface is a bot. They say China is leaving Beijing. Yeah. So with this theory that happened, which it's like an urban legend, there was this problem where these people who were over in China were looking into an abandoned place. And when they went into the abandoned place, they saw when they went into the abandoned place, they saw this like, "Good morning, Remy. It's so good to see you. I'm glad to have you with us." Remy is a friend of mine. I've known for a very long time, and shout out to you. So yeah, in China, there is this situation that happened where the it looked like these two different compartments, and they like these little like coffin looking, not coffins, these cement boxes, and in them there was human remains, and it was allegedly used for, yeah, Rockefeller, right. It was used for organ harvesting, is what we thought. Yes. It's always great to see you, Remy. All right. And going over here. All right. So I definitely Greenland is the best place. Yeah, and in Greenland there is one moment here. Got to do something. Like I had to go adjust something. So as I was saying, I think that I think Epstein's still alive, and he is. They're concealing it because there's people that were, you know, over there, like at the police station, right? I mean, the prison that he was in, that were testifying that he was taken somewhere else and or liquidity assets. Of course, being in Israel and or one of those islands somewhere, it's definitely very bizarre, and everyone on the list that did something wrong needs to be held accountable. And it's very mysterious how they just go. There's such sightings of him in places, and including Disney. And I think that the international cliques that were doing this were totally messed up for what they were doing. And yeah, you think that the person is still alive too. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think the organ harvesting is something that definitely is happening over in Asia, China and stuff. I had a friend that was over in who lived in South Korea, and he was talking to us about how there is this thing where North Koreans would try to lure people to the border to harvest their organs, like these prostitutes. That's what they would do. And because there's a lack of organs, maybe in the global market, but especially because they always have an organ ready. So there's the streamer that was going and exploring an abandoned place was able to see that area that is this abandoned room where they had all these organs and different things like inside of the, let's say, a concrete box, because I don't know what the other word is. So yeah, and I do think there's definitely truth to that, and they had to blur it out because it was graphic. As in case of third world countries, there are many cases of life imprisonment, and turns out they're free in other countries, right? He's still running the firm. Vision. Yep. Thank you for your insight, Leatherface. And yeah, I think with Leatherface, very good points, and there are a lot of things that the media and stuff says is basically smoke and mirrors about what's, you know, really going on, because there's a time, like, say, when the Venezuela thing happened, all the everything at the same time was occurring, where all the different news outlets were releasing all the same information at once. My dude, what's your purpose? My dude, I am a cat purring on a stream, and that is what I'm doing here, chilling with chat. That is true purpose. What is your purpose, Valor? Are you a chivalrous knight? Are you a knight of valor? Chill, bro. I am chilling. I'm just curious of valor and elegance. There are Temus and Emus. Have you seen Emu 1 or Emu 2? And I typed this thing in wrong. Okay, let's see. Owning a great coffee shop. Your purpose is war. War and peace. Okay, I should be back on. I may have not been on before. But yeah. Okay, so I should be on. Anyway, the but at the same time, I was trying to get this other thing. Yeah, so that is my purpose pretty much. And I wasn't aware that I thought I was talking and it wasn't letting me talk. So I'm going to try this thing again to connect this other thing. Okay, let's see if I returned. Okay, I returned. Did it quite? Okay, I am back now. So let's just put this thing right here. Alrighty. Anyway, I don't know who is here and who isn't here, but so that is my purpose. I think that there's so much injustice with these people in the Epstein files that have not been released. There is lots of issues with people who are not, you know, being held accountable that should be held accountable. And it's so cool that we all could connect and talk about this stuff together. So yeah, I believe Epstein's still alive. I believe that there's like Guthrie going missing and McCaslin going missing, and the other woman, California hiker, I think Reza was her name. She is also another person that was in, hiking in that region that became lost. They just disappeared. I think all that's connected because they want to do some sort of censorship of some kind. And it's important for justice to be served, and that's what our country was supposed to be about. Although I think that the elites that have taken over these things are not really having our best interests at heart. I think they are concealing and hiding things. Like, there's, Les Wexner that had, Victoria's Secret, and he didn't seem like really a nice person even at restaurants and stuff. He just seemed like a rotten egg all the way around. And be careful, who you have company with. So that is the purpose, that we're talking about different injustices that happen and people who need to be shown the truth about this stuff. Yeah. So it is important for everybody to be able to be united, rest, reset. Hello there, Antonio, I believe. Antonio. What exactly we need to reset? Because there is a great reset that people believe is happening. There is reset where the clock, like society in general, there's so much corruption in media. There's so much corruption from, people like scrolling on TikTok for hours and not, getting anywhere. There is a reset that needs to be done, but that could be a broad definition of what exactly would need to be reset. So people that know to not follow the elites down into the path of destruction is good. And by the way, Valor, if this didn't come through before, very nice American flag, profile pic, and Valor is a noble thing to want to have. And there is definitely change of law. There's people that would want, and people that just want justice and things to not go sideways like a lot of times it does. Because there's so many people that were victims of these, Epstein things that occurred that I don't know really will ever get true justice. So yeah, that is what I think in those situations, my position about all those things. I do believe UFOs and aliens are linked to that stuff, and they want to try to silence people from the actual truth about what's going on. They'll do shaming. They'll say aliens aren't really real. They'll say, in the media will say aliens are not real and it's just science fiction. But when people do that, it's absolutely crazy to see the effects and the results when over time a conspiracy theory becomes true. I believe there's lots of fake conspiracy theories that are false. I believe there's lots of conspiracy theories that are made up. There's pranks. But there are a lot of them that are real. And the truth eventually comes out over time. And it's important for the people to not follow the path of destruction. And shout out to all of you. Appreciate you all very much. This conversation's awesome. I've been having a really cool night. And let's see this. Yeah. So people that I think are really in trouble are those that are sheep, that have their heads in the sand, right? And when people have their heads in the sand, they will not see the truth of what's really happening, and it will disregard things as different conspiracy theories, and not even be paying attention to what's going on because they're distracted by other things. There's lots of distractions. There's a time where Rome was falling apart, where Rome was falling downhill. And when this occurred, when Rome was having its problem, people would go to the Colosseum and watch the gladiators fight and distract themselves from what really was going on. So I do think if anybody had a food crisis, local farmers are good, and growing your own food, all that is very important. I think people should do. And so those are circumstances where I think people are blindly following the mob, like a bunch of sheep. So those here are opening their minds up and away from the Matrix, because the Matrix is something quite ruthless that wants to keep everybody trapped in the void, and that is not good. The concept of aliens used to seem like it was completely, a lot of people thought it was not true and it was something ridiculous, but it does, for me at least, seem very probable that they could be interdimensional too. They could be interdimensional. They could be in, otherworldly attributes to them, that when they come in our realm, it's not the same as it was, originally, wherever they came from. Right. So whenever the aliens.gov site is released, I'll be glad to go and look at it with all of you, and, the chat. We'll have a discussion about it. Let's see. There is Representative Luna that was talking about the Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch goes in lots of detail about the alien stuff like that. I it's getting a little bit stacky. Okay. There we go. That's better. So when that situation occurs, it goes in detail about the fallen angels and what happened, which groups of fallen angels went where, and who made it with the Earth women or some artificially created hybrids. So, and talks about the aliens, what we call aliens in detail. And Rep Luna was talking about that, and that's a very big breakthrough that people are now taking it seriously and are exploring those concepts. So many people are may be lost, may not completely know what's going on, but that's how it's doing it. Okay, so W3, hello there, and I like the profile picture is interesting. Reminds you of the Pink Floyd um, album cover, and that was a really iconic album. It was one of the most famous symbols that they have. Yeah. So remember, the aliens files being released is is linked with Epstein. Like they're both concurrent with each other. Like I don't think one thing is a distraction over another thing. You you have to take everything like in the same format as it is. So yeah, so the Book of Enoch and these different biblical narratives that people thought were fictional are actually coming out to be true. So it's a good time period of seeing things coming out as true when people originally thought they were not true. So it is great to see the different breakthroughs as they come through. So, a lot of times in abandoned places, people will see different types of cryptids and things like that, and bizarre things in the urban legends. So definitely they could find surprises. Lots of people probably go and hide in those places and trying to look, get away from the law and stuff. So that is something. It's a fun fact that is, they'll go there and like somebody will go urban explorer, go look in abandoned places, and they'll see, for instance, a noise or a boom, and they have to get out. One time, a dude was in there and he caught the Illuminati red-handed because there's these people in these cloaks that were just walking around doing chanting. It's like, bruh, that is some spooky stuff. Yeah, some very spooky stuff. And scared, scared. Yeah, and I think it is, good to know when people are getting red pilled about the truth, because a lot of time people are not red pilled, and it's like talking to a brick wall. When they get red pilled, their eyes start opening up and they see these different things. So yeah, definitely the economies need to get better. The inflation needs to end, and all the Timu injustice that happens needs to be more just. So that is certainly what I think. All right, and yeah, those are my thoughts about the UFOs and things of that nature, like that. Earlier, we saw many cool raccoons and some cats being Timu cats, and for a moment, then I had to go and settle them out when like petting Claude and stuff. He's a he could be a firecracker at times. there is, a time and place for everything, time for peace, time for war. And I think that people in general want the right thing. The regular people want the right thing, but elites want more power and money because when you have power corrupts, it corrupts the worst and it attracts the worst and corrupts the best, right? So a lot of these people that are in these Epstein files that are not being exposed, it's because of how the system works. They don't want to uh, sell out their cronies because they want to keep them protected behind a Timu shield. And a complete, total Timu Shin injustice. See, yeah, with the there's probably a lot of things in the documents about the aliens that we don't even know about yet, but there's lots of conspiracy theories I've already heard about that I would like to see confirmed, personally. There is, for instance, the Epstein files confirmed a lot of different things that people, well, that was good that it happened. It caused a domino effect, so people would be more open to other conspiracy theories as these different things came out. So it did serve a good purpose with that. Right. And we will see if anybody gets arrested for it, because, so far nobody's been convicted for anything. And it just seems like they're just giving people breadcrumbs, but people want justice. People want to feel safe in the country and not feel like they're being governed by a bunch of psychos that don't have their best interest. So, and that is basically my point about the discussion about injustice and valor that we want to desperately preserve, and we believe all people deserve. Definitely. Okay. I am back. I had this thing off position for a second. Yeah, and let's see. At this point, we have completed the stream for the night. We had an excellent stream and look forward to doing this one tomorrow, and peace.